Hi, this is PD at BurgZerg Arcade at BurgZergArcade.com, and this is tutorial 173. Now, when we left off in our last tutorial, we had just finished setting up the 3D elements to change the gender of our character. And we have written the script to actually start spawning our character, but we haven't actually started spawning anything yet. So let's go ahead and head into Model Develop. And I'm going to go to the player model customization script that we have attached to our character mount. And there's a few variables I'm going to want to keep track of. The first one I'm going to want to keep track is am I currently using my male models or my female models? So I'm just going to create a private, well, I guess we'll make this one, well, we could make it public, but I'm going to keep it private and just create a toggle for it. So we'll just say private. So type Boolean, and I'm going to call it, using male model. And I'm going to start that off as false. And of course I'll put my little slash in front of it. And I'm going to quickly come down and right below the update, which, well, we'll probably be using update a little later on, but we won't, well, let's just delete it now. We'll get rid of all these functions that we don't have a use for currently. So we've gotten rid of that. Now let's go ahead and actually write the toggle for it. And this will actually be public. It's not going to return anything. And I'm just going to call it toggle gender. And this is going to accept a bool. Actually, we don't even have to pass anything into it. Basically, the way it works is every time you click your gender changing button, this function is going to be called. And all we're going to do is take whatever this variable is, our using male model, and change it to the opposite. And we've went over this before. On how this works, but there we go. And I'm going to put a few more spots in there because there's going to be other ones I want to add. And the next thing I'm going to want to add is an index for where we are in the arrays. Now, if you have the exact same number of female character models as you do male models, you can use just one index, but I'm not really sure right now how I'm going to be working with the female models since I really don't have any yet. So I'm actually going to create two separate indexes for them and keep track of them separately. So again, these don't have to be accessed outside of the script, so I'm going to make them private. They'll both be int, and I'll just say male model index. And of course I start that off at 0. I'm just going to cut and paste to make the female one, and I just had an FE in front. And that's pretty much all the variables that I'm going to need for now. Actually, in hindsight, it'd just be a lot simpler and a little less confusing. Instead of trying to accommodate for all the different scenarios between how many male models you have, how many females you have, let's just say every time you switch gender, you automatically drop the index back down to 0. So let's say if you've got 20 females and 15 different male model types, you can actually, when you switch, say if you're at female 12 and you switch back to male, it'll start off at 0 again. And we'll do this just to make things just a lot easier. And this should actually be true. I'm going to start off using male models to start with. So there we go, one less variable to keep track of, and like I said, it should just be a little bit easier for us. So I'm just going to quickly go into Unity, make sure there's no error messages popping up after it recompiles. And none. Great. Now let's instantiate a model. So we're going to create a private variable, or sorry, a private function that does not return anything. And I'm going to call it Instantiate Model. Or we'll do character model. Now we've already got one pretty similar to this already that we've done in our changing room example. So let's just scroll down and take a look at it. So here we are. So we had a switch case block set up, and as you can see, we just basically picked the model according to the index that we were currently at. Now I'm not going to get that far into it yet. Let's actually just come down and copy our instantiation command. And I'm going to come in and I'm just going to paste that in for now, because all we really want right now is just to get something to show up. Now you notice here we have a character mesh variable, and it's got to be of type game object. And I'm not actually going to make it public this time. I believe this time, and this one here, I did make it public. No, actually it was private in here. But actually we probably should make it public, because I'm going to be having these rotation controls, as you can see down here, and they're going to want to rotate the character. We could also actually just rotate the character mount it's attached to. So there's actually quite a few things we could do. I'm going to start off by keeping it public, or sorry, private. So I'll just come down here, private, and I'm just actually going to cut and paste that variable in. Now it is a game object, or at least of type game object. We'll save that off, and next we're going to want to parent it to whatever this script is attached to. And we probably already have the code for that written as well. And if you've already gotten up to this tutorial, then chances are you've already got all this code done and it's working right. Now we haven't got into changing the rotation and everything else, but there's a few things here we can cut and paste. So we're going to grab that, and we'll just paste it in. And then we started working with the animations. Might as well cut and paste that as well. And we're not going to bother getting a reference yet. So pretty much this is all we have to cut and paste in from our old script. And if you don't like cut and pasting, I'm sorry, but I use it quite a bit, as you can tell from all the different videos. And let's just go into Unity and see if we have any errors with this. And we do. So it's saying, let me see. The CA does not exist in the current context, so we've got a variable that we've cut and pasted that we're not using. Where is it? So it's trying to access the array CA, or sorry, the character assets, and trying to get that array of character meshes that we have set up for. Well, since we're doing it a little bit different this way, I'm just going to start off with the male models, since we don't actually have a way to change gender yet. And we'll just cut and paste that in. I'm just going to see if there's any more CAs in there. I'm not seeing any. We'll come back, let it recompile, and probably, well, I did not get rid of them. Okay, character model index. We'll have to change that to what we're calling our index, and we're calling ours just index. Again, I don't see any more errors, but I'm sure there probably are. Let's take a look. And we'll just address the next error. So the best overloaded match for Unity will, let's see, has some invalid arguments. And the invalid argument is actually the first part of our instantiate command. Now this has to be some sort of game object or a prefab, or something that we're actually going to create. And right now our male model index up here, if we go back into Unity and take a look here, it's on the character mount. It's just a list of well, strings. And of course you can actually see that up here. Now this is where we're going to have to use our resources load method. So let's go ahead and go resources dot load, and then we want the string, which is to a string which represents the path to the item we want to load. So I'm actually just going to close that off right there. I'm just going to quickly take this. I'm going to just cut and paste it out above and comment it out. And we've gone over resources load before. Basically we want to get a path to where all of our models are. So let's close all these down and start taking a look. So we know it starts off at resources. So our character models, the first thing we're going to want to do is go to character models. So I'm going to make two constants up here. And I guess we might as well make them private. And they're of type string. Oh, forgot the constant keyword. And I'm just going to call this male model path. And just like we did before, we're going to build it up to where all of our male models are. So character models, and I'm actually just cutting and pasting the names in. It's just a little easier, few less typos. And it looks like the female is the exact same thing, except it has an FE in front of it. And make sure you got your trailing slash after that, after the male part. And we'll make a female model path. And we'll make sure we got the name of the folder right. And right now we're just dealing with a male, so we'll just cut this, or sorry, copy this, and we're going to come down to our resources load method. We'll paste that in, and then just add this part to it. And of course, all we're doing is just concatenating strings together. So that should work. Let me get rid of this little comment we'll put up here. We'll just let it recompile. And we have no errors, so when we start it up, we should get our first model, which I believe is the fat one this time. So when I start it up, nothing happens because we're not actually calling the method. So I'm going to come up here, and at the very end of my start method, let's instantiate our first character. Make sure our index is set to 0. Let it recompile, and then hit start. There we go. We got the fat model, but he's facing the wrong way. Now what we're going to want to do is have the player face the exact same way that our character mount is facing. And as you can see right now, we haven't touched it, so it's facing forward along the Z. So let's just take our character mount. We'll rotate 180 degrees. This starts it off facing towards the camera, as you can see. And then we're going to go into our script. And this quaternion identity, we're actually going to change it. We have to put a quaternion in here. But what we're actually going to use is our transform.rotation, which is the rotation of whatever this script is attached to. And of course, that's the character mount. So let's go ahead. We'll start this up. And this should start them off facing towards us. There we go. There's one more thing. It looks like we're already over 12 minutes. There's one more thing I wanted to do in here. Before we continue, we mentioned that when we hit the change gender toggle, we wanted to reset the index back to 0, and I just wanted to add that line. So change gender and set that back to 0. Alright, that's it for this tutorial, and I'll see you in another one where we'll start being able to load up our female models. I'll see you then. Bye bye.